Good morning. So let me start by saying thank you for taking the time to come out and hear a little bit about the lawsuit that we're filing today against the state of New Jersey, the Attorney General, the Civil Service Commission, and naming 5 officers that were specifically involved in the history with regards to our concerns around cannabis use in the police ranks in the JCPD and beyond. Before I speak to the specifics on why we're taking these actions, I just want to preface what I'm saying today by pointing out that there is no municipality in New Jersey that has been more supportive of cannabis legalization than Jersey City. Out of the gate, we said that we would make sure that the market dictates how many cannabis dispensaries there are in Jersey City. Other municipalities set artificial or arbitrary numbers around who and what can open. We said we'd let the market dictate that. We were quick to set up a commission of residents here to approve on the local level, and the City Council has been quick to approve dispensaries as well. More than 40 of them have been approved in Jersey City. 2 are opened as of last week, and it speaks to our commitment and belief that legalization in New Jersey is a good thing. But that stands by itself, separate from our concerns that we expressed on day one when the legislation, the Cannabis Regulatory CREAMMA, as we refer to it, Act, was approved or proposed in Trenton. We said that it was necessary to have specific carve-outs. New Jersey is the only state in the country that doesn't have carve-outs for specific professions. And when you talk about police officers and the split-second decisions that they have to make, life and death often a part of that, the fact that the laws from the state of New Jersey directly conflict with the ATF and federal law exposes Jersey City to millions of dollars in potential liability, and that's just unacceptable for us. At every turn, we've spoken to the state and pursued all the necessary avenues to get this corrected. We went to the Civil Service Commission, we spoke to the state, and today we are filing a federal lawsuit where we feel that our standing is very clear, and we feel comfortable that that we eventually will prevail in having carve-outs. I think any reasonable person would say that there should be carve-outs with regards to specific professions. I mean, think about a bus driver that takes your child to school. There is not a carve-out in New Jersey for rules and laws prohibiting that. You are subject to that municipality's rules on how that bus driver will operate. Think about a police department in the situation. There is no way for a police department to know if somebody ingested or consumed a cannabis-related product 1 hour, 1 week, or 3 weeks prior to their shift. And think about the judgments that they have to make every day on a specific tour, and you could realize the concerns that we have. So we eventually think we will prevail here, and we're going to open it up to questions shortly, but I'm going to turn over to Director Shea to speak specifically to the background on how we got to this point. So, Director Jim Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the Mayor alluded to, when the CREAMMA Act was passed, we immediately noticed a conflict with the federal law, the controlling federal law is the 1968 Gun Control Act, still in effect, which makes it illegal for any individual in the United States of America to possess, transfer, sell, own a firearm if they are, and there's a list of things, domestic violence abusers, etc. On that list is a user of Schedule I drugs. On Schedule I drugs is listed marijuana, cannabis, THC. It's still there. The federal government, through the ATF, has reiterated multiple times that as marijuana becomes legalized in states, it is still illegal and a controlled substance, one drug, and makes anybody who uses it ineligible to own a firearm. So we pointed that out immediately. We told our police officers, do not use cannabis, even if it's legal, because it will threaten your employment as a police officer. Carrying a firearm is an absolute requirement of a police officer in the state of New Jersey. You cannot be a police officer if you are not eligible to carry a firearm. 5 of our officers chose to, even after receiving this notice, they chose to use cannabis, and as a result, we can no longer arm them or provide them with ammunition So they are ineligible to be police officers, and I think this is important to note. They have not been terminated because they used marijuana. They have been terminated because they can no longer carry a firearm and perform the duties of a police officer in the state of New Jersey. They're challenging us through the civil service rules, and that's how we reached here. The civil service is refusing to acknowledge the conflict between the federal law and the state law, and so we have to go into federal court and get a federal judge to rule on the law. There are no facts in dispute. We all agree that they smoked, that they utilized marijuana, cannabis, THC. We all agree that they would need to carry a firearm to be police officers. So it should be as simple as a judge clarifying the supremacy clause and that the federal law is supreme over the state law.
We'll open up to any questions, and we have Art Tebow, who filed the lawsuit today in court. It's public record, to answer any specifics. To my right and to my left, you see some clear forms from the federal government that, as Director Jim Shea said, are not in dispute. There are clear questions around your usage and your eligibility, and if you check yes to that ATF form to my left over here, you are not eligible to get a firearm. It's as simple as that. Jersey City is required to not only have our police officers have firearms, as everybody in the state of New Jersey, we're required to provide ammunition for them, we're required to provide annual training for them, and there is a direct conflict here. And as I said earlier, you are speaking about tens of millions of dollars in potential liability and exposure here for a municipality if something goes sideways. And our job here is to protect the residents, and we are doing that. So with that, we'll open up to questions. Any specifics? We'll turn it over to Art. Yes. Art, you want to speak to the requests of what we're asking on what we want reversed from the state rules? Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, Art Tebow, Thibault. So we've asked the federal court specifically to rule that the Federal Gun Control Act preempts CREAMMA as it relates to adverse action against individuals who are required to possess firearms as part of their duties. And then secondly, we've asked the federal court to enjoin the state and the Civil Service Commission from requiring the city of Jersey City to employ or reinstate officers who are known users of CDS Schedule 1s. That's what we've asked.
So you want police officers who use marijuana to still remain police officers?
No, we want the opposite.
We want the opposite, yes.
That's what I needed to get.
Yes.
So is this only affects?
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Let me say yes, we want clearly allowed by federal rules that a police officer that consumes cannabis is not permitted to be a police officer, and that we are allowed to take appropriate action, number one. That is from the lawsuit. Personally, I would like the state of New Jersey to correct this legislation because we are the only state in the country that doesn't have reasonable carve-outs for certain professions. And that should be broader than just the police department. I think any reasonable parent in the state of New Jersey would say there should be carve-outs for certain professions with regards to childcare, with regards to somebody that I trust my child to. Those don't exist in New Jersey. You are subject to that specific municipality's rules if they choose to implement rules. New York City has carve-outs for those specific things. There is a list of carve-outs. Every other state has a list of carve-outs except New Jersey. And we've tried to go the proper route of saying amend the legislation. Didn't happen, so we're going to take it to federal court and see where it goes.
So Mayor, at that point, if you're elected governor, would you sign some sort of directive or executive order putting these carve-outs in place?
I mean, I would hope that this is corrected long before that election, but yeah, I think that the state of New Jersey would agree with me that while they're supportive of legalization, there also should be some reasonable carve-outs, and we're going to push for that.
So is your concern the cannabis use when they're off the clock, or is the concern that some might show on the clock still under the influence? And what does the law say as it relates to alcohol and guns? Because officers, if you're off on the weekend, you can have a couple of drinks, no? But
Yep.
if there's an emergency and you have a gun and you're called to the scene,
Yep.
you've had drinks in your system, are you not under the influence?
We were going to answer that specifically. Just name and what outlet?
NBC, Adam.
Okay, didn't know. Okay, you want to speak to alcohol and how we approach that?
Yeah, so first thing, we're concerned with marijuana use, period. because the federal law, which controls us, the Gun Control Act that I alleged before, makes it illegal for us to provide weapons or ammunition to anyone who is a user of marijuana, which has been clarified in the courts as you don't have to be addicted, you just have to use it. And you are now ineligible to possess or have transferred to you a firearm or ammunition. That's the law, independent of what I think of marijuana or anybody else. That is the law. If I provide ammunition to a person, I am breaking the law if I know that they are a marijuana user. Now, as far as its comparison to alcohol, alcohol is not on that Schedule 1. Neither are a lot of other drugs which could potentially be abused. And consequently, we would not have a legal reason to deny somebody a firearm if they did. But the law is very clear and has been reiterated by the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau that it is illegal. A woman in Virginia was arrested last year for having a medical marijuana card and possessing a legal firearm at the same time. So it's clear that that they will enforce that law, in addition to it being on the books. As far as being concerned about off-duty, on-duty, the main concern we have about that right now is the fact that 2 years after this law was passed, there is still no test that can tell us that. There is still no test that can tell me whether if somebody is involved in a shooting right now, there is no test that can tell me whether somebody possessed marijuana or whether they used it 3 weeks ago, as the mayor said, or whether they used it 5 minutes ago. All it can tell you is it's in their system. And I would like you to imagine we have a controversial incident, and the person is a known user of marijuana, maybe one of these officers who has failed a test, a mandated test. If you're the family member of a person who maybe suffered at our hands, would you say to us, hey, why were they even carrying a weapon? It's illegal for them to even have a gun or marijuana a gun or ammunition under federal law. So we're between a rock and a hard place here with these two laws that directly contradict each other. One is clearly supreme. That's what we're asking for the judge to rule on.
What's the status of the 5 lawsuits now?
Pardon me?
Status of the 5 lawsuits, the five officers.
They are still terminated or about to be terminated. The Civil Service has ordered us to rehire them. Civil Service will not acknowledge this conflict. Several of them have acknowledged it but refused to talk about it. They insist on claiming that we fired them because they used marijuana, which we clearly did not. As a matter of fact, when they were terminated, we offered every single one of them any job in public safety that does not require to carry a firearm. We offered them those jobs, and they all declined. So Civil Service, that's why we're going into federal court now, because we're at the point where Civil Service has ordered us to rehire them. I would either have to rehire them and provide them their weapons back and ammunition, which is against the federal law, or I'd have to resign, which looks favorable sometimes these days. But no, I would just be passing the criminal liability on to whoever takes my job next. So we're at the point where we have to go into federal court and ask for a ruling on this.
You said they're about to be terminated? Are they
No,
like,
where we stand?
suspended?
Three terminated, 2.
Can you just speak to it or go speak?
So let me be clear. So we have 2 that were terminated, 2 ordered to be reinstated by Civil Service. They're still terminated because we have motions for reconsideration still pending at Civil Service. They've not addressed our motions for reconsideration. So those 2 are status. The other 3 are moving through either local hearing or Civil Service at this point.
And all five are named in the lawsuit along with the Attorney General, the Civil Service Commission, and the State of New Jersey.
They're not being paid.
They're not being paid.
So you have to take this step because of these 5 cases?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
That's what it really comes down to.
That's right.
And is there a rule or a law are you allowed to drug test in the state of New Jersey?
Can I get that
for THC? And
I like this one. Thank you, Adam. Those drug tests that we provide, that these people failed, were mandated by the Attorney General of the state of New Jersey. After the CREAMMA Act passed, we were ordered to send a certain number of people to drug test. That's the way it works. They were still testing for marijuana. They informed us that they failed for marijuana. Since these 5 people failed, that has been changed. And we no longer test for marijuana as per Attorney General guidelines. But at the time they failed the tests were mandated tests by the State Attorney General's office.
And is there any concern at a time when retention is difficult and recruitment is difficult that this may be off-putting to people who maybe want to serve, but, on their days off, they like to, smoke.
I would love to have these 5 officers back. No, I do not have that concern because the federal law is clear. The law about possessing firearms is clear. We all take an oath to faithfully execute all laws, state and federal. The federal law is clear. We cannot rearm people while the law is as it is now.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think what I found from conversations with the police union and police leadership is that a lot of the older officers are sympathetic to our view, the ones that have served 10, 20, 30 years in the police department. The younger police officers are obviously pushing back a little bit and have some of those concerns that you expressed, but at the end of the day, there is no way for us to delineate between an hour before a shift or a week before a shift, and that's what needs to govern how we're going to act over here. I mean, you all cover some of the instances that we have here that are split-second decisions from police officers between life and death, and it's easy to second-guess those officers, and it happens every single time that there is an incident, and that's part of your job. I appreciate that. But if you get into the conversation around this person being potentially impaired with a questionable substance of legally allowed, it will add a whole nother dimension to the conversation and a whole nother set of circumstances where we have exposure from a financial situation with regards to the taxpayers here in Jersey City. So stakes are very high.
Clarification, what would that mean to you? What would that say if you got what you wanted out of the judge?
Do you want to speak to specifically what we're asking?
So as I had said before, right, that federal law preempts CREAMMA in the sense that we can take adverse action against somebody who tests positive for a controlled dangerous substance, Schedule 1. And has to carry a gun. And then secondly, to restrain the state from forcing the city to take back and rehire or reemploy officers who are known users of a Schedule 1. That's what we're asking for.
It's really a struggle between the civil service union and the city just trying to figure things out, right?
It's the state, not civil service, but the state of New Jersey, all right, the Attorney General, the state of New Jersey, and the city. And no one has been able to explain to the city how we comply with federal law and state law at the same time.
Yeah.
Let me just say one thing.
I might join in.
I just want to add that from my standpoint, there is a bigger conversation around carve-outs with that legislation. It is not just police officers, although we are dealing with police officers today. New York has a long list of the type of professions that are carved out in their legislation. New Jersey has none. As I said earlier, we are the only state in the country that has legalized cannabis with no set of carve-outs at all. And we're looking to change that for police officers, and we're looking hopefully to have the conversation start that in New Jersey to change it beyond that as well in a reasonable way.
Mayor Director, can I ask you, as far as you know, is Jersey City the only city in New Jersey doing this? And maybe Director, this is better for you. I know it's hard to speak about other municipalities, but why do you think nobody else has done this yet from a police perspective?
You want to answer first?
I don't know why
Okay,
nobody
yeah.
else has done it.
Yeah, so as far as I know, we are the only city doing this. I will refrain from imputing anybody else's motives on why they're doing what they're doing. I suspect, from my conversations, there's a lot of free rider going on. If Jersey City is going to take the lead, we were the first ones. We saw the conflict immediately. The mayor and I saw it within minutes of it coming out. He was researching other states. I was pointing out to the federal law. We saw the conflict. We jumped on it. We didn't ask for this position. We were just the first ones to point it out. And we seem to be in the lead on it. And everyone else in the state seems to be like, oh, great, Jersey City is paying for the attorneys. Jersey City is taking the lead on this. We'll wait until they get a ruling, and we'll free ride on that ruling. In addition, it could be as simple as our officers were the first ones to fail those mandated tests, so we were the first ones to face having to do something about someone who we had uncontrovertible knowledge was a marijuana user and knew that we would have to rearm if we rehired them. So we were probably the first ones to face that. Someone asked about the state. Is our conflict with the state? Yes, it is, because we have pointed out the difference between these two laws, the contradiction, where one says you cannot, no exception, give a firearm to someone who is a user of marijuana. The state law says you cannot use anything about their using marijuana in an employment thing. Well, that puts us where we don't want to be, between two people. We've pointed it out, and they have flat out refused to acknowledge it. The civil service, multiple times, we have filed motions with them trying to get them to acknowledge this conflict. They've acknowledged the conflict, but just refused to say how we can comply with both laws at the same time. So we're stuck going to the federal court and asking a federal judge to please point out that we can't. And that since we can't, the federal law is superior to the state law, which, since all these people are attorneys, I would have thought they'd know, but we're stuck there.
Now,
Just right 1 second, Alice. We promised her. One second. Yeah, you had a question? And I just want to add one thing that, in my conversations with union leadership statewide beyond Jersey City and other police chiefs and other police directors and other mayors, there isn't one single person that I've discussed this with that doesn't agree with us. Some of them would say that, well, my membership doesn't like it, although I agree with you and I think that it should be changed. That is the common thread. And we have a large department, one of the largest in New Jersey, if not the largest, and we've hired, out of the close to 1,000 that are there, upwards of 600. So we have a young police department as well. So I fully appreciate the fact that we are doing something that, based on the numbers, some of the younger ones won't like. But it is the right thing to do for the taxpayers, and it is the right thing for New Jersey to do, to be perfectly honest with you. Yes?
So as this winds its way through the court, you have cops that are, under the law, allowed to consume marijuana, and you can't drug test them, right?
That's the
So-
position we're in now, yes.
Right, right now. So are you concerned that there are cops that are using marijuana? Like, what are those concerns?
Do you want to talk
right
about this?
now?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I guess also,
Oh,
oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I forgot my second part.
Okay, but you'll remember, I'm sure. Listen, we're always concerned. We're concerned about alcohol, which Adam brought up. But the difference being, now I'm getting away from this lawsuit, and I don't want to get too far away from it, but like alcohol, we have tests for that can tell us whether you consumed alcohol. If, God forbid, one of our officers is in one of those split-second life or death decisions, the Hudson County prosecutor, if they suspect alcohol use, can immediately order a test and can have them taken for blood tests, for alcohol tests. We've done that for people in the past, and we will have incontrovertible evidence of whether they were impaired at the time they took these actions. Marijuana, there is no existing test. If anyone wants to become a billionaire, invent that test, because everybody is looking. Everybody around the country is looking for a test that can tell whether you smoked marijuana recently or previously. So that would concern us, that right now, you're right. Marijuana is legal in the state of New Jersey. We are not, by Attorney General mandates, allowed to test for it. And even if we could, we couldn't tell when they took it, so it wouldn't help us. So yes, it puts us in a very gray area, and God forbid, someone's family member.
Go ahead. I just wanted to add that in the hypothetical situation, or the likely situation that he referenced earlier, in the situation that he referenced earlier, and then we talk about that hypothetical situation that happens frequently, unfortunately, where there's a split-second decision, life or death. After those sort of incidents, the police officers are tested, ultimately. So there is exposure for us with regards to litigation that happens afterwards if THC is in their system. It'll bring a whole set of questions around what happened, what did we know, why didn't we test, how do we provide. So as it stands today, with the conflict that exists between the testing, the federal law, and the State Service Commission, there is exposure for us in a very, very large way, and that's what's concerning. So yes, there is an issue for us.
So are you still
Before-
sending the message to these cops that marijuana consumption is
We
prohibited?
sent a what prompted this was when this first came forward from Trenton, we sent a memo to them from the police leadership saying that these rules are what's going to apply to the Jersey City Police Department. And some of them have tested it, and that's where we are today, ultimately. But there is exposure for us that's been created by Trenton for a lot of money, and we are self-insured as a city. So when you talk about $20 million lawsuits, which we see, those come out of taxpayer dollars, ultimately. And when you talk about situations of use of a gun or a firearm or that could result in death, those lawsuits that we see are beyond $20 million. So you're talking about a huge, huge liability for the residents here, huge.
Yeah. And before you start, I'd like to just to previously answer a question, yes, right now, the rule in the Jersey City Police Department, we have reminded all of our officers that they are required to carry a firearm as part of their duties to be a police officer in the state of New Jersey. They cannot be a police officer without carrying that firearm, and that Right now, the Federal Gun Control Act of 1968 says that they may not possess a firearm if they are a user of marijuana. So we have reminded them all, you cannot use marijuana. You have the right, every citizen of the state of New Jersey has the right to use marijuana. If one of our officers wants to, they can smoke as much as they want, but they can no longer perform the duties of a police officer, and we will have to terminate them if we become aware of it. And that is the rule right now in the Jersey City
Just to
PD.
Al, and
Have we
then,
been
yeah.
sued? I mean, have you been sued on any matters?
We've been filed, they filed notices.
About exposure?
Yeah, we filed, well, there's two ways we get sued. One, the police officers we've terminated, yes, we've received notices from some of them that they intend to sue. That they intend to sue us because they insist on portraying their termination as a result of their marijuana use, not as a result of their inability to carry a firearm, no matter how many times we reiterate that, including in the papers we gave them. And as I said, we offered every single one of them any job in public safety that's not civil service that would not require carrying a firearm, and they all declined. So, and in addition, I'm going to return, like the mayor alluded to, lawsuits. You have those split-second decisions. I know if one of my family members was on the other side of one of those split-second decisions, and my sympathy would be with all parties involved. I understand how tough they are. But if I found out they were a known user of one of these Schedule I drugs and in possession of a firearm in complete and total violation of that federal law, I think I'd be pretty angry about that and say maybe if you hadn't allowed them to violate the law and own that gun, this would not have happened. Maybe if it was a different officer who wasn't. So that's the position that we're being put in by these laws.
Yeah, last question, Al.
So, this is a federal law. So what's the federal, are there allies to you on the federal level who are pushing to change some of the federal laws?
I mean, I think there's a conversation in Washington constantly about whether marijuana, cannabis should be a Schedule I drug. That's ongoing. I don't know what the likelihood in the current Congress of that changing, probably unlikely. But, it doesn't change the facts that we have on the ground here in Jersey City that we deal with day in, day out. So with that, do you want to?
The only thing I know about that, Al, to return, it was requested to take off Schedule I several years ago and denied. Now there's a new request to take it off again. As the mayor said, whether it's going to pass or not, we don't know.
Okay. Thank you all for coming out today. Appreciate you taking the time. Thanks. Okay, good job.